Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Bentley. We're going to start in about 30 seconds. We're just letting a few more people in. So good afternoon, everybody. My name's Chris Bentley. I'm the Managing Director of the Legal Innovation Zone at Ryerson University in Toronto, but I live in London. Welcome to Meet the Techsperts. We are going to hear from a number of startups who are doing amazing things using different forms of technology, all in the legal space. We'll be happy to have your questions. Go to the Q&A function, fire your question in, and we'll get to it. If there are any issues with technology, don't worry about it. We have experts behind the scenes who will work it out, and I'll just be on the screen smiling as they do. Today is Meet the Techsperts, put on by a number of different organizations. It's part of the Legal Hackers London series. Now, Legal Hackers is a global organization. There are hundreds of chapters in many, if not most, countries around the world. It is a nonprofit, volunteer. They don't charge for anything. You can join for free. And Amy Terhar and I started Legal Hackers London about 2 years ago for the purpose of bringing people who are interested in delivering legal services or thinking about legal services differently together, whether you're lawyers, whether you're entrepreneurs, technologists, interested members of the community. We saw a real opportunity here in London to build an innovation, a legal innovation community. And this is an event to bring people together, gather interest, and share knowledge. Now, events like this don't happen without sponsors and supporters. So I really want you to give a virtual round of thanks and applause to a number. First of all, the London Economic Development Corporation in particular, of course, the head of it, Kapil Legalicity, Kapil, and the Director of Marketing and Communications, Ashley Cunningham. Without them, this would not happen. The Legal Hackers London really has been supported from the beginning by the LEDC. They have sponsored events, they brought people together, they've advertised it, and without them, we're not here, we're not able to do this. But there are a number of supporters who have come together, been brought by them, by Legal Hackers London, by their interest in innovation, who are here with us as well. First of all, Harrison Pensa, the law firm, Learners Lawyers, Siskins, the law firm, RH Accelerator, and of course the Legal Innovation Zone, which I'm part of. Again, if you have any questions of our tech experts, please fire them through the Q&A function. We'll get to them. If you have any questions that aren't related to what the experts are talking about, you're free to fire them through the Q&A function, and we may get to them afterwards, not likely during the currency of the program. We are a 1-hour program. We will stop at 2 o'clock. And this recording will be available on the LEDC YouTube page. So with that, I'm going to provide a brief introduction, very brief, of each of the 3 Techspert presenters. They'll speak, and then we'll open it up for Q&A, and we will leave each one go to the next. Then we're going to have some remarks from Brian Foster of RH Accelerator, and then we're going to have some final remarks from Peter Dillon, and I will wrap it up with just a minute or two. So with that, I am delighted to introduce Stephanie Curcio of Legalicity. They are a new company, tech startup, maker of NLPatent, and it's a new tool. They use AI to modernize the patent search process. With that, Stephanie, why don't you take it away?
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Chris. Thanks for the introduction. I'm really excited to speak to this group. I have a connection with London. I went to law school at Western, so really excited to speak to this group. Thanks very much for inviting me. I'm going to take over the screen now to share a few slides with you. Let me just go ahead and do that. Okay. All right, there we go. So thanks for the introduction, Chris. So yes, my company is called Legalicity. We've created a tool called NLPatent, and it is a patent search and analysis tool. The idea to create a patent search tool really came from a personal pain point that me and my co-founder had. We're both intellectual property lawyers and did a lot of patent searches at the firms that we worked at, and this process really sucks. It basically requires you to go onto a whole bunch of different databases and enter in keywords to try to find the closest references, the closest patents to what your invention is. So to give you a bit of a background about why you would do a patent search, you would do it for a number of different reasons depending on what your business focus is. So the first thing you might think about is when you have a new invention. You want to search through all the patents that are out there to make sure that your invention is new and different enough from what's been done before in order to be patentable in the eyes of the patent office. The other end of the spectrum is if you already have a patent, you might run the risk of somebody trying to invalidate your patent through litigation. And in those kind of circumstances, you would want to conduct a patent search to make sure that the patent office didn't miss anything on your patent, or if they did miss something on a patent that you're trying to invalidate. And there's quite large stakes at play there. So those are very important reasons to do a patent search. And there's a whole bunch of other reasons you would do a patent search, not just as a lawyer, but as an R&D professional at a business. So that's sort of the genesis of our company, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. So you might be wondering, what's wrong with the current way that we do this? What's wrong with keyword searching on different databases? So there's really two different reasons why that process sucks. The first reason is that there are a lot of patents out there to search through. To give you an idea of how many patents, last year, there were over 3.3 million patents filed globally. That is just in 1 year, and those are just new patent applications that are being filed. Every single year, that many patents are added to the amount of patents you would have to search through. It becomes a very, very difficult task if you're searching through so many patents. What makes it even more difficult is that these patent documents are super complex. They're full of a whole bunch of technical jargon that is often really technology specific. So if you're doing a keyword search for one word, it might mean something very different in one area of technology as it applies to one patent than it would in a different area of technology. So you have to sift through all of the sort of false positives in order to zero in on what you're actually looking for. I'm telling you from experience, this is a very difficult process. So what makes this so difficult actually makes AI perfectly suited to tackle this problem. So our solution, NLPatent, uses two types of artificial intelligence, machine learning and natural language processing, in order to do away with the keyword search. So instead of entering in keywords in our database, what our clients do is they enter in a full paragraph, like full paragraphs of information, as much information as they want to describe the invention. Our AI sort of reads through that information and picks out the concepts that you're describing. And it matches those full concepts with what's been done before, all the rest of the patents in our database. So you're end up with a much more complete search because you're not relying on keywords. You're using these terms in the context of the paragraphs you're using to describe what the invention is. So this is a full text semantic search. It completely changes the way that individuals conduct these searches. It takes this process that often takes several hours to do, and it totally changes it to a process that takes sometimes 10 seconds to get very good results. So this is a screenshot of our product. We've had a product in market for about 1.5 years now. NLPatent is being used by some of the biggest law firms in the world, some of the biggest companies, and private research institutions, or private research institutions specifically. So you can think of all the different reasons you would conduct a patent search if you're a lawyer, if you're a business professional. There's so many different reasons and so many different users that we have. So this is a real screenshot of our product. You can see here, this is a search that was conducted on a new coffee maker. And this tab that's open here is the prior art tab. So prior art is the term specifically used for the relevant references for a particular search. And you can see on the left-hand side, you have top results. These results are generated instantly, and they're often quite bang on the first shot. So this is totally changing the way that search is conducted. Using artificial intelligence in order to create a better search tool is something that a lot of people are trying to do because of the old way of doing things. It's just so tedious and time consuming and really, really inaccurate in a lot of cases. So this is something that national patent offices around the world are trying to innovate in. And I've traveled across the US in particular, speaking about the use of artificial intelligence to improve this process alongside professionals from the US Patent Office. We're all just trying to create a better solution, and this product is able to tackle that problem quite well. That's all I really wanted to share. If anybody has specific questions about any of the slides or anything I discussed, I'd love to take questions.
Yeah. So Stephanie, thank you very much for that. And again, if people have questions, fire them through the Q&A session, and we have one. What's your business revenue model?
So that's a good question. I mean, there's so many different ways, and pricing is such a difficult thing to tackle. So the way that we have decided to price out our product is by the search. So the reason why we did this is because lawyers are often used to this pricing model. So search is something I mentioned is such a tedious process. Lawyers don't want to spend, their own time doing the search because they would have to spend so many hours conducting a search, and their clients would not want to pay for their hourly rate. So they often take the search and give it to somebody else, an outsourcing party to do. So that sort of pricing model works really well because that's something people are already used to. So we charge by the search.
And Stephanie, a second question, what stage of commercialization are you at?
I'm not really sure exactly how to answer that. People are paying for our product. We've had customers for over 1 year that are paying for our product. We have clients all over the world now that are using it.
Well, that sounds like you're in full swing.
I think so.
I'm particularly interested. You've been to the United States a number of times and made presentations at large groups of people interested in patents. What's the reception been? Yeah,
so I've really enjoyed traveling and speaking about this topic because people I find are very interested in AI and using AI to modernize different processes, but they have absolutely no idea what artificial intelligence is. So as part of my presentation, I try to explain in as simple terms as possible, what the technology actually is. So, a previous slide that I showed earlier, just discussing, what natural language processing is and what machine learning is. I think people find that really interesting. And once you start to take this black box of, an AI product and you start to explain how it works, not only are people more comfortable with the tool, but they also use it more effectively and efficiently because they understand a little bit more about how it works.
Is there any suspicion about the use of AI? And if I was to use your tool, do I have to be worried about the fact that you're using artificial intelligence and I have no idea how to use that?
So that's an interesting question too. So I think that there is some suspicion about artificial intelligence and perhaps some skepticism about whether it works or if it's just sort of smoke and mirrors. And I think that comes with the fact that a lot of companies are saying that they use artificial intelligence and don't explain at all what that is. So we're trying to have, a very different approach. We're trying to explain how our product works and exactly what kind of artificial intelligence we're using in order for people to be more comfortable with it. And I guess, Chris, really the proof is in the pudding. And when our clients start to use our product and they see how well it works, they become more and more comfortable with the results.
Are there any tests that can be run to match up the results of your searches against the results of people doing it the old way?
Yes, so we've been doing a couple different tests. I mean, there's a couple ways you can slice it. It's a really difficult thing to assess because a patent search is really subjective. I mean, you're searching through millions and millions and millions of documents. And just because you found one that's pretty close through a search doing it the old-fashioned way doesn't mean the AI might not find something better. So the first test that we conducted is to see whether our AI could find the same results that were cited by the examiner during prosecution, which means when the applicant filed the initial patent application, the examiner looked at it and did their own search the old-fashioned way and found some references that they thought were making that particular invention unpatentable, for example. And we ran that search, but we thought, wouldn't it be more interesting to see if the examiner missed something, if NLPatent could find something that was better than what the examiner found. So we started looking at some litigation data to see what was cited in a piece of litigation against a patent that both the examiner and the applicant had missed. And in running these, sort of anecdotally, and running some of these tests, we've noticed that NLPatent can instantly find these results that were better than what the examiner found and ended up invalidating the patent during litigation. And that's really impressive.
Well, Stephanie, thank you very much. It just sounded impressive. There are still questions up there, but we have to move on to Meyer Mechanics. So thank you,
very much.
Stephanie. Thanks, Stephanie, and Legalicity. And now we're going to move to Meyer Mechanic and Vaultie. Meyer is the co-founder, COO of Vaultie, and we'll just get him up there soon. And Vaultie has created a fully verifiable digital signature and tamper-proof document system. So Meyer, why don't you take it from there and tell us what you do.
Okay, can you guys all see me now? My video was having an issue there for a second. Hi everybody, my name is Meyer Mechanic. I'm co-founder of a company called Vaultie. We do KYC integrated digital signatures. So we started this about 2 years ago when we realized that e-signatures, super convenient. They're very clearly the way that we're doing most agreements now that we're all in lockdown, but they're not exactly convenient when we talk about compliance and when we talk about safety. And the reason why we have that issue is because you can't really verify who's sitting in front of a screen after the fact. And that kind of left lawyers with two difficult issues. They could either use wet signatures, which were time consuming for both the client and the lawyer, usually non-billable. They were expensive, especially once you factored in couriers or consulates if things were traveling. They couldn't be verified after the fact easily, in the fact that to verify a notarized document in Ontario usually takes 3 to 4 days because it travels through the Attorney General. In some cases, if it's going through, it travels through where it's being checked in different cases. Different countries have that as well. And with e-signatures, you couldn't verify a signatory. In Canadian law, an e-signature is defined as any marking that can be used to identify a person, but you can't actually identify that person because we have trouble linking physical humans to digital documents. And that meant it was really easy to commit fraud. You see a lot of fraud like that in real estate. It had happened in other areas as well. And because of that, when we were developing the laws for digital documents, digital signatures weren't considered reliable for major documents, wills, powers of attorney, negotiable instruments, at the time mortgages, although now that's being done. So we really needed to develop a system that worked a lot better. How could we measure a physical person to a digital document? So we needed a solution that sort of built on 5 different things. We needed biometrics, so a face, a fingerprint, a fingerprint or something similar that would allow us to prove who's there. We would need an electronic and a digital signature. So an electronic signature is a marking. It could be a pen mark and then scanned. It could be finger on a tablet, or a digital signature, which is some sort of software code that proves a document is real. We would need document DNA, so a unique checksum, and then all of that would go into a digital certificate, which would have to be stored on blockchain, which could allow us to create a time-stamped, unchangeable document. So suddenly now, if I was to edit something in a Photoshop, if I was to print it out, I have something to be able to reference it again. And that's where we developed Vaultie. So with Vaultie, a user signs up. We use AI to authenticate their government-issued ID. So we can test 4,000 different IDs from 195 countries, prove that that's real, and then we run facial recognition against that government ID. So I know the signer is who they say they are. From then you can upload, send, and sign documents as you would. The only exception for us, as opposed to a traditional digital signature, is when you sign a document, you actually take another selfie, which we run against the selfie in the driver's license that we already have on file. So now I know that at the moment of signing at 1:22 p.m. on a Thursday, I signed this document. That information gets written into a verifiable credential, so the customer is in full control of their privacy and security, and written to blockchain. So we've now created a time-stamped, unchangeable record of a document being signed. We put a QR code on the bottom of that because if you pull out your phone right now and were to scan even a hard paper document from Vaultie, we'd be able to verify that anytime. So this is an actual real life of what our authenticity report looks like outside of the breakdown of it. You would get the selfie that was taken at the time. You would get proof that we validated their passports or driver's license. The verification is done in real time. So we're checking the blockchain for that original document at the moment you're testing it. And then just in case you're worried that the document you have in front of you has still been defrauded, we actually allow you to view the original document as linked to blockchain, fully secure because it's peer-to-peer encrypted. So the only people who are ever viewing that document is you, your client, and anyone you've shared that document with. And that's useful in more than just law. For law, it's useful for secure contract signing. It's useful for commissioning of documents. Real estate laws, we launched 2 months ago, and people have gotten married, written their wills, sold their houses on Vaultie so far. Within KYC and AML, we actually have the ability to pass back driver's license vetting, so we can give you your FinTrack compliance from there. And then for medical tech, we can actually affect prescription fraud because a pharmacist who's now a third-party verifier can verify that a particular person has a particular prescription attached to them. Outside of that, I'm going to thank you all and open it up for a whole lot of Q&A because I think I have a lot of time.
So Meyer, there have been some questions lately. There have been some changes, I should say, lately in Ontario law, so that you can have video witnessing of will signatures.
Mm-hmm.
That happened as a result of the pandemic and the closing down.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
So virtual will witnessing does not actually allow for digital signatures. It will one day. The way virtual witnessing works right now is you would get on Zoom like we all are right now and talk through Zoom while witnessing 3 copies, while signing 3 physical copies in wet ink in front of your counterparts. That creates issues because you don't have, you have 3 paper copies. So you can't really verify that something has changed. You can't really verify that anything is different. The government has also brought in virtual witnessing and notarization, which can be signed digitally. For those, that's more interesting because once we can do this and we can have a system where we can verify documents, which doesn't exist right now outside of Vaultie and one or two others, that's a really interesting move forward, because then we can suddenly put out documents, have them verified, save time, declutter court systems, and just be a lot safer on the fraud side.
What kind of security do you have to protect the ID and other personal information?
So that's a great question. Everything is end-to-end encrypted. Everything is stored on encrypted platforms and in different places. So data residency requirements in Canada are that either you keep your stuff in Canada or you have stuff stored on encrypted platforms. So nobody's able to really take a look at your license. We actually farm that out to a company that's better than us because we're still a startup called Untitled. So they're a member of the Digital Identity Association of Canada. They're literally the leaders on that. For your actual documents, we encrypt those we store those on encrypted volumes on IPFS so they can be checked out. So you are more than protected on every side.
Second question, there are some CRM vendors providing e-signature as part of their software, which are widely used by many law firms. So how do you market Vaultie as an individual product?
So there's different levels of e-signatures, and each one has different forms of safety. If you're talking about just an e-signature, that's a marking. If I draw an X on my screen right now, that's technically an e-signature. That protects you only so far if you're going to court, right? Because the onus is going to be on you to prove that this person actually signed it, and you might have an audit trail which gets you part of the way, but at the end of the day, you need to prove who's in front of your computer. And if you need that step, you need that biometric, you need that extra verification done. And if you're talking about a large deal specifically, you know, for the extra couple of bucks, it makes perfect sense to be using both.
When we had these discussions a few months ago about your product, of course, we had no idea what the Attorney General was going to do with wills and signatures. Mm-hmm. Do you think, in some sense, that the governments will see the need for the type of additional security that your product, security features that your product offers?
I think they have. And that's why we're seeing the changes made now. You know, 20 years ago when digital signatures started, well, when e-signatures started, digital signatures are maybe about 10 years old. We didn't allow right away for mortgages, wills, and everything else to allow that to be done. The precedent court cases in Canada on digital signatures even say they're convenient, they're not safe, which is why we're letting businesses use them. Now we're at a point where security's gotten there, where we can say, okay, there's enough proof lying around. And if I have, let's say, a lawyer on Zoom and then a good digital signature, that might be enough. Where we come from a security standpoint is when you need to be verified after the fact, we can make that happen in seconds.
If I'm conducting a transaction across the country, or if I'm conducting whether it's a legal or a financial transaction across border with the United States, what does your platform offer that the existing approaches, e-signatures and others, does not?
I mean, it offers you verification. We worked with one of our earliest deals that we had done was we helped a blockchain company that was doing a cross-border transaction where they had never met their clients. So the fact that we were able to verify their IDs, we were able to send them their government IDs and vouch that they were real, and then have all of that information for their KYC in there, along with proof of signature on the document, meant that A, they were able to satisfy their compliance, and B, if they ever go to court, they can now say, I know that it was Chris in front of his computer. So, you know, it's not, you know, someone else's coworker, or if you're signing a will, a nefarious ex-lover, or something of the sort that could be changing things.
And I might have missed it, pricing for the product?
Yeah, so we have two different pricing models. We sell on subscription basis, which is like any other SaaS company. But we've also recently launched a dispersible model where you can buy one folio that will allow you to upload as many documents as you want and send that out, but we charge on every send. And that can be dispersed back to the client, or you can have a subscription where it's overhead and cheaper.
That's great. Thank you very much, Meyer.
Thanks so much for having me.
Meyer Mechanic from Vaultie. And now we are going to ask Daniel Levine, one of the co-founders of Minutebox, to join us. Minutebox is a cloud platform that alleviates the inefficiency, the time with traditional minute book storage and maintenance. Daniel, I'll let you take it away.
Chris, okay, fantastic. Give me just a moment to get my presentation going. And I just want to confirm you can see my presentation, Chris?
I can, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for having us. My name is Daniel Levine. I'm one of the co-founders of Minutebox. I also have a deep connection to London. I'm a graduate of Western Law School, and that was certainly one of the best time periods of my life, and I wish I could be there in person. I'm sure we all do. So we're all looking forward to better times ahead when we can all be together. Minutebox is an entity management solution for corporate law firms. And I appreciate that perhaps not everybody on this call is a corporate lawyer and familiar with what that might mean. So I'm just going to take a step back and go right to the root and the heart of it, is that we really start with helping law firms modernize their practices and work with their corporate law clients and their minute books and the ongoing entity management and governance that stems from that. Every corporation, whether you're the smallest company in the world all the way to the largest company in the world, will have something called a corporate minute book. This is typically a physical binder that contains all the corporate records of a company, from articles of incorporation through to bylaws and resolutions and share registers and ledgers. And if you go into most corporate law firms today, you will see big boardrooms and libraries just filled with unnecessary physical documents. And so our journey and our path is to help corporate law firms modernize their practices, specifically when it comes to entity management. And when we talk about our business, we typically start by talking about law in general and the shift and the changes in the practice of law that we've observed over many years, and some of the intuitions that led to us in starting Minutebox. But as much as I could spend 20 minutes or longer talking about the changes in law, I think the recent global health crisis has really been a marker for all of us to realize that the practice of law is forever changed and forever different, and there's no going back to the way that we used to do things, specifically when it comes to the use of physical files and documents. We certainly never thought that a lawyer's office would look like this. But in the last 2 months, every lawyer's office has turned into this. And so we really don't spend much time anymore when we talk about how we help law firms, convincing customers that if they don't modernize and move to the cloud, at some point they're going to be dead, whether it's by attrition or a sudden event. Over time, the practice is changing enough that it's imperative for law firms of all sizes to modernize. And one of the silver linings to come out of recent events is that for our customers and for customers that have already modernized various areas of their law practice, even with this global health crisis, they've seen virtually zero disruption to their practice over the last few months. And so when we look at and work with law firms, we are looking at the old way of practicing and the new way of practicing. It's not just Minutebox, but it's Vaultie and Legalicity and many other companies. If you're still installing software on premises on computers to manage your practice and billing, you're doing it the old way. If you're still making your custom closing checklists instead of using closing folders, or think that it's an advantage to be meeting with clients in person instead of Zoom, or if you're managing physical minute Minutebox, instead of having all of your governance in a secure cloud, you're still doing it the old way, and eventually this is going to impact your practice. In particular, if you're still spending, whether it's $15 a square foot or $35 or $40 a square foot to store physical documents in an office that you can't get to in the midst of this global pandemic, it's a huge problem for the continuity of your business operations and your ability to maintain and keep your clients and customers happy. So the old way of working with entities is very clear. It's paper binders, installed on-premises software. It's difficult to use. They've got these interfaces that were built in the 90s. You pay by license because that's how they did it in the old times instead of modern SaaS. And it's completely and inherently insecure as far as the software is concerned. The new way of managing a corporate law practice is by using digital minute books, putting everything onto a secure cloud, using friendly, easy to use software that doesn't require a big manual to learn how to use. You can have unlimited users. And of course, because it's in the cloud, if you're working with a proper provider, you're going to get way more security than you could ever get on premises. I'll just give you a sneak peek into the old way of managing minute books and corporate entities. Of course, all this data is fake and obscured, but this is a real client of ours. This is really what law firms around the country and around the world look like to varying degrees. They've got storage rooms littered with binders that are at risk of leaky pipes and fires and having documents go missing. And they're using old interfaces to manage this data in insecure environments. But when you switch and transition to a modern environment, you get some really, really happy people, all the way from the senior partners to the clerks to the clients. And we get lots of wonderful feedback from our clients. But in particular, when you get feedback like this from a clerk that's been practicing for over 20 years and says something like, truly, I'd bill it as the best gift any firm could give to their clerks, that's just a remarkable piece of feedback. So for us, our platform is entirely modern. We take all your corporate records and governance documents and we throw it up into the cloud. We can do it for you. You can do it yourself, of course. And everything that you would expect from a modern platform is at your fingertips, from searching in easy access and accessing from any browser in the world to all the ability to share this information with clients so they have it right at their fingertips and viewing things at an instant and playing around with items as needed, to some of the really powerful requirements of entity management, from corporate databases to the automatic creation of transactional documents to share capital managers and very robust ownership and organizational charts. So that's a little bit of a preview of Minutebox, and I think the difference between the old way of practicing and the new way that we're seeing the modern practice of corporate law change. I want to thank all of you again for attending this presentation. We're very happy to be here, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions if there are any.
And if you have questions, fire them through the Q&A route. So Daniel, if I've been practicing in this area for a while, and I've accumulated a lot of minute books, people in my office know how to put them together. Is it difficult to change, or why do I want to change?
I think change management is certainly the most difficult part of any change. It's people that are used to processes and procedures, but that always has to be weighted and countenanced against the risks associated with staying the same. Our fundamental thesis is that the practice of law is changing, and that the risks of staying the same are far greater than any risks associated with change. And the proof for us in the pudding with the responses that we get from corporate law firms. It's all smiles and thumbs up, and happy clerks make for happy lawyers and happy clients. So I think change is certainly a necessity, but also the right thing to do.
So does Minutebox draft share provisions and resolutions for the lawyer?
We have a bank of precedents that we provide as part of the automatic creation of documents, but we also have a very easy visual editor that allows firms to take their existing precedent bank and get them onto Minutebox with a lot of ease. I think many lawyers and law clerks in particular are scorned by some of the solutions in the past that require very complex coding of documents and the understanding of things like if statements and loops and repeats. With us, we have a very beautiful visual editor that's all drag and drop, and it makes it really easy. If you need to code out your own preferred custom precedents, you can do it all quickly and easily yourself rather than relying on a third party and complexities.
So another question, we attempted a subscription with a similar company, not you, but they looked away as we're a small practice and instead put us in touch with a virtual law clerk company that had access to their product. So what is your typical client size, type of size of firm?
Yeah, I think one of the unfortunate things of some of the other folks in this community, and I don't know who in particular they're referring to, but traditionally, when you've built products that are either difficult to use or very expensive, it requires a particular type of customer, and usually a big customer, and managed services that can be very expensive. And so if you don't meet a certain threshold, might be $20,000 a year or more, they're going to bunt you over to a managed service provider because it's too expensive for them to maintain you as a client. Our solution is built in a way that it can scale from the smallest practitioners. We have practitioners that are just getting into the practice of law that are using the platform and growing along with us, all the way to some of the largest firms in the country. And so we built a solution that's flex scalable for law firms of all sizes. And that's been the feedback as well from our customers of varying sizes, that they find exceptional utility from it, regardless of the size of their particular practice.
Now, if I've been at this for a while, I probably have rooms full of these minute books. I can use your product from here on, but what do I do with all the old stuff?
Yeah, there's you're going to notice a big trend in law firms where they're now going to be digitizing everything. It's going to be digital first. So every law firm in the world, I can guarantee it, in the next 3 to 5 years is going to take every paper document that they have, and they're going to go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get these documents scanned, not just minute books, but litigation files, the whole gamut, because the disruption that's come about with this global health crisis has proven the need and necessity to be able to access documents from wherever you are, no matter what, and to do so securely. So when we work with law firms that have existing record book collections, we do provide a service that can scan and digitize and onboard them to the platform in a beautiful way. And we have a lot of expertise in particular with minute books. But for us, again, we think it's a matter of attrition. We do the scanning, and quite frankly, I prefer to not do the scanning. It's a laborious job, but we can do it, and we can do it well. Law firms are going to go digital one way or the other, and as long as you've got digital books, they can just drag and drop, be onboarded to the platform automatically.
Pricing. Question about pricing. How much does it cost to get started, and how do you price out the product?
Yeah, our core pricing model is on a per entity basis. It's a yearly SaaS subscription. The number one thing that we do with clients is we work with them to find a pricing model that works within the flexibilities and the particular context of their practice. We work with most of our customers to have it be a reimbursable fee. So if you do annual maintenance at a fixed fee, we price it and package it in with that. So in most cases, the use of Minutebox is zero net cost to law firms. We do have some fixed fee pricing models as well that are available, but our commitment to every lawyer and law firm that we work with is to work with them on a pricing model that meets their needs, and in particular their business needs in this environment that we find ourselves in today.
So you're active, you've got clients around the province of Ontario?
We've got clients all across the country, actually, and in the United States. This includes some of the world's largest companies and some of the largest law firms, both in Ontario and in Canada.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate that. Very helpful. And
thank you so much.
And for our viewers, if you have any further questions of the entrepreneurs you've seen, Stephanie, Meyer, Daniel, all of their companies, the contacts are listed on the LEDC website. You can otherwise contact them by accessing their contacts through our Legal Innovation Zone website as well. And if you have any difficulty, just find me and I'll get them for you, but I don't think you'll have any difficulty. Really appreciated the presentation. Thank you, all three of you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Brian Foster, who's one of the directing minds behind RH Accelerator. And Brian, tell us a little bit about RH Accelerator and tell us about this new initiative you've got going on.
Thanks, Chris. Can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. Thanks for giving me a few minutes to talk to you all about the Roundhouse Accelerator. Thanks to LEDC, legal hackers, the firms that are involved as well. For those of you who do not know about the Roundhouse Accelerator, we're a London-based, I guess, for-profit accelerator located down at the London Roundhouse. For those of you who have seen that space, it's a pretty cool space. You can actually see the kind of the background in my virtual background. I wish I was there. We ultimately are founders for founders. Three of us who founded the accelerator, Joe Dales, David Bilson, and myself, have had lots of years in the tech space. Started, grown, scaled, sold, acquired, lots of different experiences and lots of different verticals of strength. It probably started a little while ago where we really feel that London is uniquely positioned to really have a vibrant tech ecosystem. We have two wonderful post-secondary institutions in Western and Fanshawe. There's lots of tech success stories in London, although we don't tend to shout that out as much as we should. And one of the areas that we feel could be very interesting is in the legal space. We've started to have conversations with a variety of key firms in the city, some of which are here on the call, as well as talking with LEDC and yourself, Chris, about what we can do here in London to accelerate, legal innovation. So RH is launching literally a legal innovation and tech accelerator. We will work with and partner with organizations such as Legal Hackers, working along with LEDC, some of the leading firms in town. We will certainly get Western Law, Fanshawe involved as well, to see what we can do to accelerate legal innovation in our community. We are made up of founders, entrepreneurs, investors, mentors, partners, and I believe that with the right people at the table, we can make a significant difference, both in legal innovation, but also to lift London as a tech ecospace. So that's really it. I'm always happy to answer any questions, and I know that some of the people at LEDC are working with this as well. For those of you who want to check out a little bit more, we have an online community called RHA Online, which we launched 3 or 4 months ago, really in response to the pandemic, but ultimately something we were doing, and that's a really good place for people to go to start to collaborate and share. And we will also host some of the legal innovation topics there as well. So thank you, Chris, for the time, and good luck to everybody. I did want to point out it was great to hear those startup stories. I mean, I personally love to hear those, because I know how hard it is. So good on you all. I think it's great. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks very much, Brian. That's exciting, and having someone who's jumping in and prepared to bring people together, encourage a community. That's going to be very, very helpful as we look to build some momentum in the City of London toward legal innovation, toward doing things differently, and frankly, creating market opportunities for London entrepreneurs, for London lawyers, different ways of doing business. And at any time, but especially now, it can only strengthen the future economic opportunities. So get in touch with Brian, RH Accelerator directly. Get in touch with them through the LEDC, and As I recall, the online community is pretty easy to join, and everybody's welcome. So thanks again, Brian, and to RH Accelerator. We mentioned a number of the different organizations that were supporting this at the very beginning. And one of those that's been supporting Legal Hackers London from the time we started has been Siskins, the law firm. And I'd like to invite Peter Dillon to say a few words and hopefully encourage each of those watching to get more involved. Peter? Well, we're waiting for Peter. There may be technical challenges. So just while we're seeing if Peter is going to be able to come on, the Legal Hackers London, as I said before, it's part of a global organization of legal hackers. It's not hard to join. Just go to the website, sign yourself up. There are no membership fees. Events are free. We will be holding another one, say in 3 or 4 weeks. It'll be an online one. Feel free to to join and be part of that. We will notify through the usual channels. And I'm wondering if Peter has been able to join or if we've had some technical glitch.
Chris?
There you are.
My apologies.
Hey, no worries. It's fantastic. I thought it was me.
So many buttons, so little time. When you and I started practicing law, high tech meant an IBM Selectric. And I think what we're seeing, and Daniel alluded to this, is that that's just not going to cut it anymore. The law firm of the present day has to be tech savvy, not just to survive and make a buck, but to be able to service clients who are increasingly tech savvy. I've been in London now. I articled at a Bay Street firm, and then came to London immediately after that. My experience for the first kind of 10, 15 years in London was a steady line of businesses and talented young people going down the 401 to Toronto. I mean, you could hear the vacuum. Tech has, I think, in the past 10 years, and increasingly so, has changed that. Tech is creating jobs that provide a superior salaries and potential for economic return and interesting work right here in London. And it's easily the most exciting part of my involvement in the tech sector. I want to thank people like you, Chris, people like Brian, people like Ashley, who have put so much of their own time and effort into supporting that in each in your own kind of unique way. But again, it's exciting for me to see something starting to gel here. And I just want to encourage anyone that's on the phone to get on the train and be a part of that. And probably, Brian is actively working on getting our legal innovation zone up and running. Probably Legal Hackers is going to be the vehicle through which that happens. So for people who are interested, join Legal Hackers London if you're not already a member. Takes 30 seconds, and or sign on to the RH online site. There's lots of interesting discussion and Q&A going on there kind of 24/7. But be involved. Lend us your time and treasure, and let's make something special happen here in London. Thanks for hosting this, Chris.
Well, thank you, Peter. Thanks for the words. I think you've hit the mark perfectly there. When you build a community, it's not just a place or it's not just an event, and you've made this clear. No matter what part of the legal innovation community you go into, you start a conversation and you're learning as much as you're giving. And I think that's the opportunity for London. So many talented people here, but finding ways to come together, exchange information, even if you're in competing law firms or businesses, you're learning. And we're all here together, and experience around the globe has shown that communities that bring people together and share learnings and share information are all stronger for it. The legal community around the world is looking at a market of about $1 trillion, and there is probably an equal market of people who are not being served either directly or as they wish to be. And that's an opportunity that we can have a small piece of here in London. There's no barrier to entry here. It's just a willingness to go after it. So thanks for your words, Peter. Thanks to Siskins, the law firm, to the other sponsors, learners, Harrison Pensa, RH Accelerator, and of course, the London Economic Development Corporation. Ashley, to you and to your people and to your boss, Kapil Lakatia, and others, I really thank you for the time and effort that you've taken in supporting this idea. You can see that it's generating momentum. This is fantastic. It's incredible. There's no wrong way to join here. Contact RH Accelerator, contact LEDC, contact Peter directly, contact and sign up for Legal Hackers. They're all options, and they're all good options. And we look forward to seeing you again in the not too distant future with some more exciting information. I'd really like a final thank you to go out to Stephanie of Legalicity, Meyer of Vaultie, and Daniel of Minutebox, and once again, LEDC. Thanks very much to all those watching. Be safe. We look forward to connecting soon. Take care.